Prophecy Club. As many of you know, I have been interviewing Lindsey Williams for many years now. And in case you don't know who he is, he served as a missionary on the Trans-Alaska Pipeline for about 3 years back in the 70s. And as a result, he became friends with many of the elite that rule the world. And he listens to what they say, and then he turns around and tells us their plans. Now, he's just come out with a brand new DVD. It's called The Elite Plans for the Crash. Yep, that's what he does. He tells you what they say that we can look for before the big financial crash comes. And I don't think it's too far away. This particular DVD is normally a gift of $38. However, if you order it today, you can get it for a gift of just $30. And you can get it by going to prophecyclub.com or calling us at 785-266-1112. You want to know when the crash is coming? Then here you go. Let's go listen to Lindsey Williams tell you about the elite plans for the crash.
And what did Thomas Jefferson say would happen? That our children will be deprived of all property. Right now, you are deprived of that property because if your house is mortgaged, you are going to lose it. Did you hear me? I've already been told this by my elite friend. He told me back many, many months ago, he said, Chaplain, you've got to have a house that's mortgage free. It cannot have any debt on it whatsoever. If you have a house that's mortgaged, you may as well quit making your payments. You're going to lose it. You might live in it for the time being. But when they get ready to bring this collapse about, you will not have the currency to pay for it. They will repossess it, and they already own it because they bought it with the $85 billion per month. They have gone out and bought the mortgages of houses and shopping centers and churches all across America. And when they get ready for the collapse to take place, you will not own them any longer. They will repossess them, and you will wind up homeless, is exactly what Thomas Jefferson said on the continent that your fathers have conquered. You've just lost your house mortgage. If your house is mortgaged, you just lost it. They did it intentionally. Thomas Jefferson saw it. Thursday, June the 20th, 2013. It was a landmark day. The elite ran a test. You didn't have the slightest idea what they were doing. I would not have either if I had not received an email from my elite friend the following morning. The 19th of June. Go back and look this up. This is so important until it's catastrophic. On the afternoon of the 19th, just about the time of the closing bell on Wall Street, Mr. Bernanke made a statement. He said there is a possibility that we are going to withdraw a little bit on that $85 billion that we're pulling out of thin air with no backing. He didn't say all that, of course. Of that $85 billion, we might quit a little bit of that QE that we've talked about. It was not a slip of the tongue. It was done intentionally. The elite were sitting in their ivory palaces watching like a hawk to see exactly what would happen, and it happened exactly like they wanted it to happen. I woke up the next morning and I had an email, and the email told me what they were doing. You were used as a guinea pig on the 19th and the 20th and the 21st and the 22nd of June of 2013 to see a test to find out how the elite can collapse every currency in the world all at one time when they get ready to do it, and they ran a test on you. Are you catching this? I received the email and I immediately picked up the phone and I said, what in the world is going on? Are you ready? It happened. And Bernanke merely indicated he might do this. No slip of the tongue. He said he might. What happened? The markets went crazy. The next morning, the stock market dropped. That's not an indicator of anything. The indicator was interest. They wanted to know what interest rates would do just at a suggestion of Mr. Bernanke, and they did. I want to describe what this is so you can understand it. there is what is called a 7-day repo rate, a benchmark rate of funding between banks that goes on every day. It's perfectly normal. Billions of dollars change hands worldwide every night while you're sleeping, and that rate remains fairly steady at about 3.3%. Now, I have warned you in the past that my elite friend told me over a year and a half ago that there was a sign, the final sign before the collapse of every currency in the world would be a rise in interest rates when Mr. Bernanke would announce that the interest rates would rise. And he has told me in the past, he said, Chaplain, whenever that happens, any paper that you have not gotten out of, you've lost it. It's gone. You don't have time to get it. This is exactly what the elite wanted to find out. In this test, this guinea pig that they made out of you on that day, and the banks, when nobody knew what they were doing, they watched that 3.3% between banks, and it went to, oh my goodness, it went to 8.26% by the middle of the next day. By the next night, it had gone to 12.33% in China, and China had the largest bank in the country, and this is so important, China, because I'm going to bring it out later in my presentation. The ICBC Bank in China had a benchmark 7-day repo rate funding between banks that went up in China of 12.33%, and across America the rate went up, and it literally stopped the interbank funding for about 48 hours. And if the elite had allowed this to continue, every currency in the world and every bank in the world would have collapsed by Monday morning. My phone started ringing. They said, Chaplain, what is going on? The banks are going to collapse. There'll be closures on Monday morning. Those who knew, those who have listened to what my elite friend had told me, those who knew that the interest rate is so vitally important, and that Bernanke had made this statement, and my phone was ringing, and they said, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Well, I'd already talked with my elite friend, and on the phone he said, Chaplain, everything will be all right by Monday morning. He said, this is only a test. We wanted to see what would happen, and they did. They found out that all they've got to do is have the Federal Reserve Chairman to say a certain thing, and that rate begins to climb. And when it begins to climb to the place that they want it, and to keep it there, within 24 hours' time, they can collapse every currency and close every bank in the world by a Monday morning, and they can do it in a 24-hour period. They've already run the test, and they know exactly what they can do, and they know how they can do it. Why? 1 week later, I began looking at the statistics. Are you ready? These are going to be startling. 1 week later, because of the test, which only lasted 4 days, and then they straightened it out by Monday morning because they weren't ready for the collapse yet. Folks, I'm trying to tell you, the elite are not ready for the collapse yet. They are going to let it happen. And you've got to get ready. But they're not. Okay, what happened? 1 week later, I looked at the statistics. You ready? The global derivative, you've heard me say that derivatives are what they're going to use to collapse the currencies of the world. They'll do it by raising interest rates. Just for that 3 to 4 day period, I want to show you what happened just because of a test. The global derivative market suffered within 7 days a staggering $300 trillion in losses. Now, I didn't say million. I didn't say billion. You heard me correctly. The derivative market in the world today is estimated at 1 quadrillion. Do you realize that $300 trillion? Now, you say, wait a minute. We've only got a $17 trillion national debt. That is a drop in the bucket. Within 3 days' time, the global derivative market suffered a staggering $300 trillion in losses. Now, if they had allowed that to continue, by Monday morning the whole world's financial system would have collapsed. Let me tell you what else it cost. It cost you, the taxpayer. The Federal Reserve lost $151 billion in bond values because of those interest rates going up for only 3 days' time? Folks, this is staggering. This is so startling, it's almost unbelievable. This is exactly the test. And gold, of course, dropped. Oh my goodness. You know what happened to gold. Gold dropped to $1,200. But every bit of this was a test to see what would happen. Now, there was one who came out and told the story. You'll find this probably on my website, or you'll see it on this DVD. His name is Hugo Salinas Price. He is a Mexican billionaire. I want to read you what he said, because he undoubtedly is in touch with one of the elite, as I am. And he knows what's going to happen. Nobody's told it yet, to my knowledge, except him. But somehow, I guess, his conscience bothered him. I want to read you. I think we're going to see a series of bankruptcies. I think the rise in interest rates, now that was the test back in June of 2013. He said, I think that the rise, he knows it, he doesn't think it. I think that the rise in interest rates is the fatal sign which is going to ignite a derivative crisis. You notice the chain of events? The Federal Reserve Chairman makes a statement. Interest rates spike. The stock market goes down drastically. In turn, the derivative market goes into a frenzy. 1 quadrillion. And every bank, every super wealthy person in the world is involved in the derivative market. This is going to bring down the derivative system and the financial system. They are over $1 quadrillion of derivatives, and most of them are related to interest rates. People, this is so important. The spiking of interest rates in the United States may set that off. What is going to happen in the world is eventually we're going to come to a moment where there are going to be massive bankruptcies around the globe. What is going to be left after the dust settles is gold. Oh, please, people, you've got to get this. One of the things I'm going to mention later in the course of this presentation is by January the 1st of 2014, you must get your hands on every piece of gold you can get on them. Gold prices have already started back up. They've hit their bottom. They're going back up. And where they're going is going to stagger you. And you've got to get it. What did this man, this Hugo Salinas Price, Mexican billionaire, what did he say is the only thing that you will be able to use to survive after the dust settles? Let me read it to you again. He says, it is going to be left after the dust settles is gold. And some people are going to have it, and some people are not. Then the problem is going to be to hold on to what you've got, because it's not going to be a very pleasant world. Hold on to it. You better have found a deep hole by that time, and nobody knows it's there. Read you the rest of it. Right now, there are about 141. Oh, by the way, this was given. I should tell you where this was given. This statement is given by the Bank of International Settlements. It was given on June the 26th of 2013. All this fits together, the whole time frame around that part of June, the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. The Bank of International Settlements, you can't get any bigger, you can't get any more knowledgeable, you can't get any more money in the entire world than that. The Bank of International Settlements said, quote, the number one reason why rapidly rising interest rates could cause the entire global financial system to crash. You notice why I use the word crash? The entire global financial system to crash is because there are more than $441 trillion worth of interest rate derivatives out there. The Bank of International Settlements, and they said this comes directly from them, has been on the movement of interest rates up. What did Mr. Salinas Price said? He told you what's going to happen. Exactly what will take place. There are certain things that you must do positively. I'm nowhere near through. I have a lot of explanation yet to make. There are certain things that you must do before January the 1st of 2014. Not because the crash is going to take place on January the 1st, 2014, but because you probably will not be able to do them any longer after that. I hope you'll write these down and take them to heart. You must, if you're going to survive. Now keep in mind, there were many people at the time of the Great Depression in 1929 through 1933 who made great fortunes. Not everybody stood in a soup line. If you want to be the one not to stand in a soup line, I'm telling you what I've been told. You positively must do the following before January the 1st of 2014. Number one, buy every piece of gold you can get your hands on. Silver's fine, but it's difficult to swim the river to the south with silver in your pockets. With gold, you can carry a briefcase around with $1 million in it. The elite know that, and they've bought it. Number two, you've got to get out of debt. You positively must get out of debt. I don't care what it takes, how much sacrifice you have to make, you must get out of debt. Anything that is debt, you're going to lose it. I don't care what it is. If it's debt, you will lose it when the crash takes place. So there's no sense in making the payments anymore on it because you're going to lose it. If you don't lose it now because you have trouble with the economy, you'll lose it later because of the crash. Next, get out of paper. I've stressed it over and over and over. You must get out of paper of every kind. I don't care whether it's a 401k. I don't care whether it's an IRA. It matters not whether it's a mutual fund. It matters not whether it is a retirement fund. You are not going to get. If you are 50 years of age or younger, you will never see your retirement. Look at what happened to Detroit. They've declared bankruptcy. Look at what's going to happen to other cities all over America. You must get out of paper of every kind and not depend on it. Next, pay off your house mortgage. I know you can't. You say, I can't. Well, there's something you can do about it. It's better to live in a one-room log cabin and no mortgage than to live in a mansion worth a few $1 million that the Federal Reserve owns it, because they've already bought mortgage-backed securities, and they've probably bought your house. And they will come and get it. And you will lose it when the collapse takes place. Store food, water, and firearms. Why did I make this presentation in this facility? Because I thought it would be very impressive to help you see all the way through this that the one thing the elite did not want was for the American people to do what they did. It scared them more than anything else that's happened in the past 35 years, to my knowledge. When what took place in Sandy Hook took place, and our president said that he would do everything in his power to put through legislation in order to limit any event like this ever taking place again with a gun, and the American people did what the American intuition and tenacity and free spirit dictated to them. They went out and bought every handgun they could get on, every piece of ammunition that they could secure. You go to Walmart and try to buy ammunition now. We tried the other day, and they said you'll have to get here by 7 o'clock in the morning, and by 7:15 every piece that we get is sold out. And they're standing in line halfway across the store just to be able to get a little pittance of what they can get, of 22 shells or whatever it may be. The American people gave a message to the elite, and it scared the daylights out of them. You've got to have food, water, and firearms in your house. Now the next one is going to require a little definition. Please, catch this. Get ready for the greatest buying opportunity of your lifetime. I mean, this is exciting. This is exactly what Mr. Solanus Price of Mexico said. He said, those who have made preparation in advance, when the dust settles, you can buy anything you want to buy for pennies on the dollar. I care not whether it's a piece of real estate, whether it's an automobile, I don't care what it is. Food, anything else. You can buy it for pennies on the dollar after the dust settles. Get ready, folks, for the greatest buying opportunity of your lifetime. And if you will prepare right now, before January the 1st of 2014, you can survive the crash. Get out of the city, if at all possible. All the elite have. I don't know of a single elite that live within a big city. They all live out in the wide open places. purchased everything that you need. I don't care what it is. If you can buy it and you don't have to mortgage it, you get it. If you need it, get it now. Before January the 1st of 2014, you are going to see numerous events begin to transpire as soon as the Affordable Health Care Bill kicks in, that is going to fulfill everything that the elite wanted in order to keep you from revolting, if at all possible. They may not be able to. And they've made preparations if you do. But they don't want that. They want to bring this on gradually over a period of time until they can make that total slave out of you that you want. But you don't have to be that way. You can prepare now. You can listen to what my elite friends have said. Purchase everything that you can before January the 1st of 2014 that you can get without having to mortgage it. The collapse that will affect you and your family more than the closing of all the banks in America and the collapse of the American dollar. I began this presentation by saying, which collapse? There are others that are going to affect you just as much or more. 5 years ago, I was on the phone with my elite friend who now, of course, has passed away. I mentioned him, Mr. Fromm. And in the course of the conversation, he said, Chaplain, China is the big one. I'll never forget it. Those were his exact words. And I went on to ask him to elaborate. He said, don't pay any attention to the euro. It matters not what the stock market does. He said, don't pay any attention to other things in the world, in Korea and Iran and things like that. He said, Chaplain, keep your eyes on China. He said, China's the big one. He went on to elaborate somewhat. I couldn't quite understand what he was saying. Well, I can now. That was 5 years ago. Let me go back a little bit and try to bring up to date what has been given me since then and some things I've found out on my own, and you'll understand this. George Herbert Walker Bush. Daddy Bush, as you would know him, the Vice President of the United States of America under President Ronald Reagan. George Herbert Bush was the ambassador to China September the 26th, 1974 through December the 7th, 1975. Prior to that time, as long as anyone had known, China was a closed society. There was a great wall, and people didn't go in, they didn't come out. The people lived that way for a few thousand years. China was unknown, basically, to the rest of the world almost. In 40 years' time, since George Herbert Walker Bush became the ambassador, and there was a reason why he did that. He became the ambassador to China in order to open it up. He saw in China, listen to the population. The population of China is 1.35 billion people. Massive. We can't even comprehend it. The largest population on the face of the earth. Let me compare this to the United States of America. The United States of America is only 313.6 million. Now listen to China again. 1.35 billion. In China, they have more people in uniform in their army than the total population of the continental United States of America. Are you catching the immensity of all of this? And George Herbert Walker Bush, Mr. New World Order himself, the one who you can't get any more as a part of the elite than Bush and Kissinger. And Bush himself went to China as ambassador, and the 1 year he was there, he literally opened up a closed society to the rest of the world. To the point that in 40 years, China has become the second largest economy in the world. 40 years' time. The second largest, America number 1, China number 2, Japan number 3, in 40 years' time. All because of Mr. New World Order, and he knew exactly what they were going to do. He knew that that great population could change the face of the world. The elite knew that they would move America's industry abroad. They knew that they were going to take our trade secrets and move them there. The elite knew what their plans were. They had this planned many, many years ago. And they were going to take China and make it what it is today. Please keep this in mind. My elite friend has never one time been wrong in 37 years. Not once has he ever told me anything that it didn't happen exactly like he said it was going to take place. This is happening before your eyes.
Well, I'm going to interrupt right there because, no, we do not have time to play the entire DVD on the radio. But I do recommend you get the DVD, and it's called The Elite Plans for the Crash by Lindsey Williams. The Elite Plans for the Crash will tell you the signs that you look for to know just before the crash is going to come. And by the way, one of the things he said would not come is this particular shutdown would not go to a default. And he was right. They got past the shutdown without defaulting on our debt. So once again, his predictions that he gets from the elite have come true. This particular DVD is normally offered at a gift of $38. However, if you order it today, you can get it for a gift to the ministry of just $30. You get it at prophecyclub.com or call 785-266-1112. It's called The Elite Plans for the Crash. prophecyclub.com or 785-266-1112. 785-266-1112 or prophecyclub.com. You got a call today. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your prayers and your gifts of support. God bless. Now from the Prophecy Club, some exciting opportunities for you. As prophecy students, we know an emergency is heading our way, and the average person can go over 30 days without food, but no more than 3 days without clean water. In the event of an emergency, you must have clean water almost immediately. One of the primary causes of death in emergencies is not lack of food, but rather drinking contaminated water. You can run water from a mud puddle through a Berkey and drink it. You can have clean water when others are getting sick from drinking bug-infested water. Your filter must work without pressurized water or electricity, which is why the missionaries choose Berkey. You can get a Go Berkey for $139, but I recommend you get the Royal Berkey with 4 filters for $364. I personally use the Crown with 8 filters for all my daily water needs. A Royal Berkey looks like a large stainless steel coffee pot, 9 inches wide by 20 inches tall, with 4 black filters. It processes over a gallon an hour for a gift of $364. Call 785-266-1112. Ask for the Royal Berkey, 785-266-1112, or the Crown Berkey with 8 filters. Or see the entire line of Berkeys by going to prophecyclub.com. In Doug Hamp's new DVD, The Injection of the Beast, in the last days, it will be as in the days of Noah. Angels were mixing their seed with humanity, and it's happening again. That's demons and humans having sexual relations, masquerading as aliens, are actually creating Nephilim hybrids for the body of the Antichrist. Then in the Fall Feast and Prophecy, he tells the story of how Jesus fulfilled the first 4 feasts at his first coming and how he will fulfill the next 3 in return on some future Rosh Hashanah. The Day of Atonement pictures the opening of the books and the judgment of those dead and alive. The Feast of Tabernacles pictures us receiving our mansions. Both DVDs valued at $60 for a gift of just $40 or more in the Hamp gift offer. Remember, the Prophecy Club continues because of your prayers and gifts of support, not the distribution of DVDs. There are 30 scriptures in the Bible which say in the last days massive amounts of oil will be discovered in Israel, and we believe we've been given the directive to use this prophesied oil and gas to fund worldwide soul winning. If you have questions about our vision, call 877-OIL-ISRAEL or 877-645-4772.